Yeah, so our second look, we call it L2, is really inspired by, comparable to the, I would call it the venerable K35s, right? The hottest lens in town. Hard to get, expensive to rent, and everybody sort of wants the K35 look right now. And being able to test a lot of these lenses firsthand, I was sort of really struck by how subtle the real K35s are. And I've asked people, like, what makes these things so crazy expensive? And sort of the feedback I get is they're really, really consistent. It's a very consistent set. They're full frame, which is really important to obviously a lot of people shooting right now. And they're good for when you want sort of that little bit of vintage. These were really great lenses in their day, right? They're not like some messy, mushy image. These are actually pretty clean lenses. It's a much more subtle effect. So we're saying that this is almost a look that a DP would use to shoot almost like a really big project. Like we have visions for bringing this particular look, even to some new directions. We see this look shooting episodic television. We see this look shooting real movies because we are capturing a lot of the essence of the K35s, and we've got the consistency, and we've got the subtle sort of contrast reduction of the actor in the scene, and we are rolling off in a really, really similar way. So I think the difference between this and L1, though, is that you don't put this L2 on your camera and go, oh my God, like, wow, that just jumps out at me. It's subtle. This is one of those looks that you go, I don't know exactly what it is, but it's different and it's better. And I think that's what a lot of people who shoot the K35s go, wow, I can't describe what it is, but I like it. I think that's going to be a little bit of what this is. Obviously we're saying, hey, you can turn your clinical sharp set into a K35. Well, how do I do that if I've got a Canon focus-by-wire lens? We paid a lot of attention to the electronics boards. We're going to support focus by wire. We're going to support being able to control your aperture from your FX3 or your Canon RF. We're going to allow autofocus pass-through, image stabilization. We want you to be able to use any lens, whether it's Canon or Sigma or Tamron, just to support that electronics pass-through so that you don't lose the functionality that you're used to when you're shooting your mirrorless camera. So my experience with real K35 is that it is a pretty subtle look. So obviously the challenge is to say let's start kind of neutral. I mean, it's almost like a neutral position when we started our Min, and then let's get to K35 land. Let's get there, right? Let's get that subtleness. But then you might be shooting on a smaller screen. Let's go further. I actually think that this was maybe one of the more challenging looks. It's almost like it's our more subtle look. But I know when Ian was designing this one, sort of getting it to be in that K35 zone, and sort of matching the subtleness of the on axis and keeping, the sort of the particular way the K35s roll off, and then making that go further. That was actually quite challenging. And we actually did a few prototypes of this where he kept saying, make it a little stronger, make it a little stronger. And I think where we've ended up is a point where people who are, again, shooting very well thought out, very well lit content that just wants to bring in that little bit of vintageness, bring in that little bit extra to the to their look, to their project. They're really gonna like this one.